everyone, welcome back to my channel, True Crime with Jess Rose. Thank you for joining me again. This one, it's a little bit about, this one's about a lady by the name of Angela Simpson, and I haven't done it for a while, but this story's not actually about the victim, it's about the perpetrator, because everywhere I look, it's about her, and you can understand it, because this, I'd like to say she's crazy, but she's so intelligent, articulate. I mean, she still could be crazy. I'm not saying like you can't be crazy, but I just mean what she did was crazy. Let's leave it at that. And we go back to 2009. This story is, and Angela, she was from the age of 10. She was hospitalised for mental issues. She had like a long-standing mental history, with mental problems, depression, etc. But she was quite rough. She was brought up quite rough. She was had a gang mentality. Basically to the point when she was 34, she'd met this guy called Terry Neely. Terry Neely was 46. Now Terry, although she begs to differ, all of that notes say that he was disabled. He was in a wheelchair. And for whatever reason he came up with, he decided to brag to Angela that he was basically a police informant. He was a snitch. I don't know why. I always thought being a police informant, you were quiet. You don't brag about that. Even I know that. But I don't know if he thought it had impressed her. Only he would have ever known that. Why? But over a period of time, he was telling her this, that, did you hear about the bus down on site? This was in Arizona, in America, and he'd point out certain areas where there'd been a police raid, and he'd claim that and say, I told them where the drugs would be, blah, 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 and he was claiming being a police informant and, being a snitch, as Angela called him. Well, he was telling the wrong person. He really was. Angela didn't take kindly to this at all. Like I say, she had a gang mentality. She was loyal. She was loyal. If you were friends with her, I believe you'd be her friend for life, or she'd be your friend for life. I think she's a very loyal person to who are her friends. But this guy, he really, really picked the wrong person to be bragging about something like that too, because Angela got him back to her apartment on the 5th of August 2009, and it is quite graphic. Now this I found online. It's not from anything I've seen on the telly. There is a brief segment on Deadly Women, if ever you've watched that. They do cover a small, they do snippets, don't they, on Deadly Women. I think they did it with Shanda Shearer as well. Sorry. I have done that one. And they do like little 15-minute segments on Deadly Women. It's what it says. And she has a segment on that, and I've seen that, but I've also looked on other platforms and stuff, and yeah, there's nothing on him. Like I say, there's not a lot of information on him. It's all on her. And basically, when she got him to her apartment, for 3 days, she tortured this guy. And when I say she tortured him, I'll just give you a bit of what she did. She basically pulled his teeth out with pliers. When she basically set him up in a chair. She left his wheelchair outside. She propped him up in a chair, and she put a mirror in front of him. So everything, I think she got him up there on the pretense of, a little bit of flirting maybe. I think he liked her. I think that's why he thought this bragging would impress her. Oh, silly man. Such a silly man. But, like I say, she got him up there on the pretense of maybe something happening. She sits him in a chair, puts a mirror in front of him. I think he's thinking in his mind, look, a bit of kinky stuff going on, but no. Yeah, she starts pulling his teeth out with pliers. She was driving nails into his head. And on Daily Women, you know, you do see a reconstruction of it. And even though it's a reconstruction, it's still shocking because you know it happened. And it's like, ooh. She beat him with everything, punched him, kicked him. She beat him with a tire iron. She burned him. Like I say, all of this in front of a mirror. So he was seeing this. And she'd just stop when she was tired. She'd go to sleep. Come when she woke up, she'd start again. You know, there was no kind of sympathy for this guy. She had an utter hatred for the fact that she believed he was a snitch. There's actually no proof. There's no proof that this guy was a police informant. No one's come forward to say, yes, he was an informant for us. No one's come forward to say, yes, he did snitch on, you know, these people. So there is no proof that he actually was a police informant. I think that's the most saddest part of this. You know, was it just to impress her? Like, just, why would you think that'd be impressive? I'm confused by that. You know, is that an impressive thing to do? I'm confused why he thought that this woman would, oh yeah, tell me more. I don't get what he did. But the fact is there's no proof that he even was. So, why? And this went on for 3 days. Three days this went on for. And in the end, she put him out of his misery with an extension cord and strangled him to death. But she wasn't done there. As most of these stories, they're not happy with just doing that, are they? It's like they need to prolong it. She dismembers him. And then she throws him in the bin and sets fire to him. Obviously, he's dead. But the utter disregard for a human body is just crazy in these stories. It's like they're dead and you still have to you still have to continue. It's like you're not finished. You've still got to get whatever's anger you've got out of you. It's mind-boggling to me. It really is. You've put him through 3 days of torture. You know, you've got whatever you needed to out of your system, this sort of hatred for this snitch. You know, there's a warden in the prison where she is, Macapona prison in Arizona, who said that, you know, Angela's very much of the mentality, snitches get stitches and wind up in ditches. You know, that kind of mentality. She's very straightforward. So that's what she did. And the police found, obviously he was reported missing. The police found the wheelchair outside her apartment. She didn't hide it. And when she was brought in, yeah, this woman, you've got to watch the interview. You need to watch the interview to get what I'm saying. They call her a cold-hearted woman and heartless, and she's just so matter-of-fact. There's no, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't mean to do it, or I don't know what I was thinking, or blaming her mental health issues. None of that. None of that. She's just like, look, he was a snitch. He got what was coming to him. Just very much like that. And the interviewer does say to her, well, you know, are you sure? Did you have proof that he was a snitch? And she actually says, oops, if he wasn't. Oops. That's what she actually says. It's like, you don't want to like, but you're like, did she actually just say that? She doesn't regret anything she did. The only thing she actually regrets is that she didn't keep him alive longer. She said she wishes she'd have kept it going for a week. I mean, this guy was disabled. I mean, in the interview, she does use, like, obviously a few colourful words in describing the guy. And she says she doesn't know why people thought he was disabled because he could walk. So she'd obviously seen him walk at some point. And the only reason I say that is she's so straight. She's so upfront. I think if he couldn't walk, it wouldn't have mattered to her. You know, him being disabled, that wouldn't have mattered to her. So I think the fact that she says he could walk, I think maybe, you know, maybe he got tired. Maybe, you know, he was disabled, needed the wheelchair, but maybe he could walk in certain circumstances. I'm not sure about that. It's just her saying that. But in all the writings that, you know, and things that I've watched, it does say he was disabled. And she does say she just doesn't regret anything she did. What she does say, she does regret her co-defendants turning on her. Now, I believe she had some friends who weren't actually there. They weren't there to witness it. And in all everything I've watched about her, it was just her. Just her that was there. Now, like I say, she's very loyal. So I think even if there was anyone else there, she wouldn't have said anyway. You know, she's killing someone for grassing. I don't think she's gonna in turn then grass other people. But she sticks very strongly to it that it was just her. There was no one else there. There was no one else involved. So the co-defendants thing, I don't get that. I've looked into it and it doesn't tell you much about that. But basically, she had friends that turned on her and gave evidence for the prosecution. And she does look in the interview genuinely upset about that. She does. It's like she's genuinely hurt that they've done that. That's what I mean. I think she's loyal to people she wants to be loyal to a fault. She's just a vicious woman if you're not friends with her. Because it does say people who knew around the area, she was very helpful. She was caring. She was not... It just doesn't fit with the heartlessness of what you heard. And as she's talking, she does say the line, he was white trash, someone needed to take it out. So the interviewer does say, so was this racial? And she was like, of course. So we've got another aspect of the crime there. And she out and out admits that she wouldn't have ever done it to another black person. So he was disabled, he was white, and he claimed to be a grass. So he didn't have a lot going for him as far as she was concerned, and she treated him as such. Just this poor guy. And I can say poor guy, and I know in the interview she talks about him with such disdain, and I just think it sounds like this guy was just trying to impress her. Like I said, that's confusing, because why would you think that would impress someone like her? And I say that because apparently she was very streetwise. She had kids. You know, you'd only have to speak to her, I believe, to realise that really wasn't her bag, you know, to be interested in someone that would go that route, that would be a police informant. You know, I don't get what he thought he was doing. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But like I say, when you watch the interview, the guy's very candid, and so is she. And he does say that to her, you know, you're very candid, you're very honest, there's no remorse or anything. She goes, no, she goes, and I will be honest because I want you to be honest with me. She's very straight, like I said, very intelligent, really articulate, and just so cold, so matter of fact about what she did. And when he's explaining, you know, you did this, you put an alien scent, she's like, yeah, of course. No, you went shopping yesterday? Yeah, of course. It was just, so I think the reason I've done this story, she fascinated me. Her crime was so heinous. And she does make a comment when the interviewer says, you know, it's very unusual for a woman to commit this kind of crime. You know, and she's like, that's a shame. And he's like, what do you mean? You know, because he was basically saying, you know, it'd be normally men that would do something this heinous. And she's like, well, you know, I'm all for equal rights. And she's kind of got a smirk. And it's just, it's crazy, because there is this charismatic part to her that you just, you get drawn in, and you can see the interviewer getting drawn in. And, you know, but he does ask some very candid questions, like I say, and he out and out says, would you kill again? And her response was, if the opportunity arose, I would hope so. That's what she actually says. If the opportunity arises, I would hope so. So she'd have no intention of, you know, it was a one-off. She does say in the interview she's never killed before. She's never been in prison before. And it just happens, and it's so odd because she's 36. You know, so she's done nothing, or she hasn't been caught. You know, but she seems that honest and she's got nothing to lose. I think she'd say if she'd been in prison before, and, well, they'd know. And this, like I say, this is in 2009. In 2012, Angela was sentenced to life in prison. And when she was asked, you know, do you think that was right? Do you think you got the right sentence? She goes, no. And so you're a bit like, oh, you know, does she think she didn't deserve it? And she goes, I think I should have got the death penalty. Just like that. And he's like, right, okay. She goes, but, you know, he goes, but you are in prison for life. She goes, well, I'm in here with family. I'm in here with my sisters. She doesn't mean actual blood sister. You know, she obviously knows a lot of people in there who are her friends. And she's just like, I'm happy. I'm fine with this decision. Life in prison, no parole, never getting out again, which I think you need to watch the interview, is probably the best thing for everyone. And you do see where she's kept in the prison. She's not kept in the main population. There's 4 women, her included, who are kept in these pods, separate from everybody. And there are certain procedures that all staff members have to abide by when they're taking them out, or, you know, even talking to these women, because they're that dangerous. You know, and she's in one of these pods, and there's a point where the interview's talking as well. I don't know if it's the same interview, actually, because there are a couple of things on there. There's one where she sat opposite a gentleman, and then this one's actually within where her pod is, and she gives out pictures, and it's just basically pictures, pigs in blankets. She's got no time whatsoever for the wardens, you know, and the police within that system. None whatsoever. She actually says she wishes they'd all combust so she could watch them burn. You know, she's got utter hatred. And one of the prison wardens, the warden's the head guard, isn't he? But one of the prison workers, she does say that Angela Simpson is the one that scares the life out of her the most, because she's just so cold. She says you catch her looking at you sometimes. She goes, and it puts a shiver down your spine, because there's nothing there. There's like nothing behind her eyes. She's just that cold. And when I hear about this, and you know, I've done quite a few stories now, and I think the reason this one interested me is she wasn't young, and as far as we know, she'd never done anything like this before. And to go to that extreme must mean you consider grassers, snitchers, police informants just the worst people in the world. But she also does say the white trash comment, you know, and admits there was a racial thing. She goes, isn't there always? Very matter of fact. Like I say, she doesn't you know, tiptoe around anything. She's very blunt. She answers every question very blunt. The only thing she scooted over and he's seen her a little bit more about was he asked her about her children. She's got 4 children, and she refused. She was like, I don't want to talk about that. You know, she didn't get moody. She didn't kick off or anything. She was just like, I'm not talking about it. So he moved on very quickly from that. So you could see that was kind of a weak spot for her. And if there's any regret, I think that would be it. You know, she's left 4 children behind, but obviously the rules of the streets just and the hatred of the police, and anyone who would have anything to do with the police just took over any motherly instinct she had to remain with the children. This overtook that, and it's crazy, really, that's how a mindset would be. But she was brought up in a rough environment, you know. Obviously, that's what she was brought up to believe, and she's carried on believing in adulthood. And like I say, she was hospitalised from the age of 10. So, although she, like I say, she's very intelligent, very intelligent, you know, there's something not quite click there. And it is quite funny because when you're watching the interview, like I say, she's very candid, she's very same tone all the way through, you know, her facial expression doesn't really break bar when she says the equal rights for women on heinous murders. But at the very, very end, when she thinks the camera's off, she breaks character. And I was a bit taken back by it, because you do get drawn in to this character that she's portraying. And at the very end, and she thinks the camera's off, she's like, that was good. Sorry, more my language, but I'm just repeating it. That was good shit, that was. Make it look good. And I was a bit like, oh. And then she realised the camera is still on, and she's like, don't put that in. Don't put that in. And she's laughing, and she goes, you're incorrigible, to the guy, and he's like, so are you. And she's like, he goes, we both are. And she's very charismatic. Very. You know, from being this very cold, even though she draws you in, it's like, does put a shiver down your spine, especially when she's talking very matter-of-fact about what she did. But then at the very end, and she starts having a little giggle about it and going, you know, make this look good, it was like, whoa. You know, you've seen a side of her that would have drawn somebody in, because she seemed very, not sweet, but very easygoing. And like, bit giggly. And it's like, wow. You know, such different parts of her character. She just fascinates me. She really does fascinate me. And I think more so, like I say, because it was her first crime. And she just, I think just the fact that she said she'd have kept him alive for a week. You know, this poor guy for 3 days. 3 days? I'll say it again. Junko, for a worst story that I've done. You know, that was 44 days. You know, that every time I do a story like this, and I emphasise what the victim's gone through. Not that sounds awful. You know, it's not taken away at all what this guy went through. 3 days of torture, an hour, so, you know, half an hour, I'd give up everything. You know, it's like, but, no one, but, 3 days? 3 days, and she wasn't happy with that. Then she chops him up and burns him in a bin and owns up to it straight away to the police. It's just crazy from just being a mum of 4. I don't know, but it did fascinate me, and I did want to share it with you. If you want to have a look, it is online, and it's actually Cold-Blooded Woman, Angela Simpson, which I think it suits her to a T. It really does. But watch her, because you will see what I mean about, she draws you in, and you're like, you have to remember what this woman's done and what she was capable of. But then she brings you back when she goes, oops, you know, if he wasn't a snitch. Like, not, maybe I should have checked it out first, or, oops. You know, it's crazy to watch that these people are out there. It really is. There is another story I've been looking at. That I was going to do. I was actually going to do. And it's a mum online. And she's been given life. And she actually killed 2 of her children. And it's absolutely horrific. But when I was getting ready to do the story, because it is just a story, it's turning out that what she said in the trial and stuff might not actually be true. She tried to insinuate that she killed 2 of her children because they were abusing her youngest child. So it was kind of a self-defense on her youngest son's behalf against 2 of her other children. So it's a very, my God, what would you do kind of situation, because you've got this young 6-year-old boy who's saying he was abused by his older brother and sister, but then he finds out the older brother and sister's ages were 9 and 13. And what she did to them was utterly horrific. Like I said, I'm not going into it because I need to really look at it, because basically it said that no, there was no abuse of the youngest brother. She was just a vile woman, and she was abusing all 4. There was 4 children, and she was abusing all 4. And the abuse got so bad on 2 of them that she ended up killing them. She kept them in the freezer. She put them in the freezer on top of each other, 2 of them. And the eldest and the youngest child still lived in the house. Freezer weren't in the garage. It wasn't hidden away in a lock-up somewhere. It was in the house. 2 of you for 2 years. And the reason I'm so dubious, although I'm telling you a lot of the details, it's I can't thoroughly do the story, because on one side, and when you watch the court trial, she's so graphic with the details of what apparently this youngest boy was telling her his brother and sister were doing to him. But then you can find links, and you can find this and other basically saying, no, that didn't happen. She was just a vile mother who beat all 4 of her children and ended up killing 2 of them. And this was her defence of why she killed them, because they were abusing a young child. It's all very confused. So that's why I haven't done that one yet. If I can confirm all the details, I will do that story, because it's just awful. The details are just horrific. But I need to get my facts straight on that one, so I may come back to you on that one. But thank you for joining me today. That was Angela Simpson, Cold-Blooded Woman. And I hope you join me again. Thank you all again for your comments. I really do appreciate them. If you could put a like in, maybe subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And just thank you all so much again. Thank you.